Every man, whether he be king or peasant, longs for the peace and security of his home. A place where there are walls against the world and a roof against the elements. A place of safety and warmth, where there is love and family. A place to heal and restore. In many ways, the Salvation Army is also a home, a refuge, and a sanctuary, where the door is open to all and where there is a place for every need. Every home has a history, and this one began over 100 years ago in the heart of a young man. In 1852, a Methodist minister named William Booth took what he thought would be a temporary leave of absence from a Methodist church in order to launch a street ministry in the slums of London. Abandoning the traditional concept of a church and pulpit, Booth's mission was to preach the gospel of Jesus Christ to the homeless, the hungry, and the destitute. Seeing the depth of the city's poverty and the complexity of the people's needs, he recognized that physical, emotional, and social restoration must go hand in hand with spiritual rebirth. Booth therefore instituted social service programs as a practical expression of the dominating spiritual motivation of what was later to become known as the Salvation Army. Today, the Salvation Army's mission and direction has remained unchanged, but the movement has grown to over 100 countries, crossing language, political, and cultural barriers with programs and services adapted to the changing needs of society. In the home, we often find a hearth, a place of warmth, the emotional center of home where all can gather. In the Salvation Army's house, that center is the fire of Christian faith. The Salvation Army is both a Christian denomination and a charitable social service organization. Members of the Salvation Army Church are called soldiers. Their church building is the core, and their ministers called officers. All are known as Salvationists.
Our strength, it's enriching, it's beautiful, it's vibrant. Thank God for our diversity. Praise God for the variety in the Salvation Army.
In both the denomination and the organization, the foundation of all activities is the concept of heart to God, hand to man. Compassion is extended and aid is given wherever and whenever there is need, without discrimination. Adherence to the principles of the Salvation Army is not a requirement for receiving assistance. A house can only be a home when it embraces a family within. It is the sanctity and structure of the family that the Army seeks to protect and strengthen. In many locations, the Salvation Army provides families in crisis with professional counseling to assist with marital problems, parent-child relationships, adolescent problems, or unemployment. Young single mothers without family support or abused women seeking safety for themselves and their children find a haven in the Salvation Army's women's shelters. Formula and diapers are provided, and parenting classes are made available to ensure better care for the newest members of our society. During hard times, a single unpaid utility bill is often all that stands between security and homelessness. Resources allow the Army in most situations to assist in the payment of these bills, and counselors are able to guide families to better management of their limited budgets to prevent another future crisis. In many places, the Salvation Army fills in the gap with health services for the marginalized. In some poorer communities, medical and dental services by healthcare professionals are provided free. Most medications are dispensed on site without charge. It is the home of our childhood that often means the most to us. Here we explored our world and discovered ourselves. Here there was security and freedom to grow. Single parents are often unable to seek gainful employment due to the unavailability of safe and affordable daycare. For these parents, the Army is able to provide affectionate care, wholesome food, and activities to promote physical and mental well-being. Mentoring and caring adult supervision is vitally important to the adolescent and pre-adolescent. It is here at core community centers where these relationships are established and kids find a safe place to go to make friends and develop their talents and skills. After-school programs, including homework assistance and low-cost sports leagues, keeps kids off the street and on track. The Army's summer camps introduce kids of all ages to new experiences and challenges, leaving them memories and lessons they will keep for a lifetime. And the Salvation Army's well-known Christmas programs ensure that where assistance is given, no child should be prevented from enjoying the one holiday that is meant just for them. The events of the outside world have a way of entering into our homes and our awareness. And then the misfortune of others does not seem so far away, and we realize that their circumstances could one day be our own. No matter where or when a disaster strikes, the Salvation Army's emergency network places officers and workers on location without delay. The Army works with emergency management personnel as well as other organizations and local government to quickly evaluate needs and implement appropriate relief.
We're really grateful for the Salvation Army's help. Once again, they've proven that they are the premier organization, doing great things for us here. We can't thank them enough.
Specially trained Army workers are able to provide shelter, food, clothing, spiritual counseling, and many other basic needs. Radio-equipped mobile feeding canteens are able to provide on-site meals and drinks to victims and emergency workers. And long after the news cameras have gone, the Salvation Army remains, providing long-term recovery, financial aid, reconstruction, relocation assistance, and client advocacy. Besides a place of warmth and rest, home is where we find provision for the most basic of human needs, sustenance for the day ahead. From the Army's earliest days, feeding programs and soup lines for the homeless have been a mainstay. For families going through difficult times, freshly stocked food pantries are a lifeline. And in addition to the countless feeding programs at Army daycare centers, senior citizen nutrition programs provide hot meals and time for conversation and fellowship. There is one Salvation Army program where a simple household item, a toaster, a washing machine, an old refrigerator, can become a symbol of hope for a second chance at life. Probably the most widely known of all Salvation Army services are the alcohol and drug treatment facilities known as Adult Rehabilitation Centers. They comprise one of the largest resident substance abuse rehabilitation programs in the United States. Beneficiaries receive housing, nourishing meals, medical care, and work therapy. Activities include group therapy with professional counseling and a healthy environment to help them come to terms with their personal issues. The Salvation Army Adult Rehabilitation Centers are funded by the community's donations of furniture, vehicles, and household items that are repaired and resold at Salvation Army thrift stores. Normally, home is a single geographic place where we can go. But the Salvation Army's home is everywhere. Everywhere there are people, everywhere there are needs. Throughout the country, strategically placed core community centers offer programs and services for people of all ages and circumstances, designed to fit the needs of the surrounding neighborhoods. And in rural and sparsely populated areas, the Army partners with local leaders and businesses who help connect local needs to Salvation Army programs and resources. The Salvation Army is at work in every zip code of the United States. From home and hearth, we venture out in confidence, prepared for the challenges of the day ahead, knowing we have a place to return to when the need arises. And so, under the shield of the Salvation Army, mind, body, and spirit are restored, life begins again, and hope is renewed. For wherever there is someone in need, there is the home of the Salvation Army.
Much of what you have seen during these past few minutes is a small representation of what the mission of the Salvation Army allows us to do. You see, whether it is children playing at the Boys and Girls Club or summer camp, families receiving a cleanup kit and counseling following a disaster, or someone receiving a hot meal and a listening ear in one of our feeding programs, the Salvation Army ultimately has the opportunity of helping tomorrow today. Our mission is not to just provide these ministries and services today, but whenever and wherever they're needed. Please, while visiting today with a representative of the Salvation Army, should you have questions about what we do and how we do it, secure that information. Should you be interested in assisting the mission of the Salvation Army, we would be happy to share ways in which you can help.
But most of all, thank you for the time you've given for us to visit with you. God bless you.